Welcome to the Hollywood Reporter Roundtables, The Composers. I'm Kevin Cassidy, and I'm here with Hans Zimmer, John Powell, Marco Beltrami, Trent Reznor, and Danny Elfman. Thank you for being here. I'd like to know what, in the last year, musically speaking, you really, really wrestled with. What was the riddle you had to solve that kind of raised the anxiety level and really kept you awake at night? Marco?
We were inventing things for the project that we were working on.
This is the Homesman?
For the Homesman. And I was afraid that we would never get to actually get the project done. I mean, there was some concern, where's the music and all that, but I was fixated on building this instrument up on the hill, this piano, and also these harmonic guitars. But it all takes time, and there's trial and error, and then you have to wait for the wind to be right, and it's hard to tell, you know, I can't do it now because we're waiting for the wind. So,
much of being a sailor is being a composer.
Yeah. So it was sort of a new way of working for me, and just not being sure I was going to be able to produce the ideas that I heard.
My name is Cuddy, Mary B. Cuddy.
Where's Mr. Cuddy?
I live uncommonly alone.
What's the job?
3 women in this country have lost their minds. Their husbands can't care for them properly. You and I are going to take them back across the river to Iowa. I need someone who can hunt and guide and help with the animals on the trip. It's your job, and you swore to do it. That's why I set you free.
3 crazy women for 5 weeks is a lot more than I bargained for.
Perhaps you don't realize what a grand thing you're doing, taking these poor, helpless women home. If you don't, I assure you, I do. This might be the finest, most generous act of your life.
You'd never really attempted this before on any other project? Yeah. Why on this project?
Well, because the picture to me suggested, you know, it's all about these women going crazy, living on the frontier, and the thing that makes them go crazy is, among other things, it's summed up by the wind. So I thought it's such an important component to the film. There's got to be a way to make it a musical idea, and be able to. I really wanted to be able to tune the wind and make it as a musical element, and that would be my starting point. But you know, it was a question of me and Buck, who works with me in the studio, spending a lot of time just researching and trial and error, and you know, trying to find people that could sell us piano wire and all kinds of stuff. So.
Well, it worked because the score is really, really great.
Oh, thank you.
What happens if the director doesn't like what you just played for him?
What's interesting is that you actually perceive your own music differently when somebody, like the director or somebody's in the room, and he's so conscious of every nuance that's going on with them. So at least I am.
Yeah, no, the ears change.
Yeah, so it's like you're hearing it differently while you're in the room with somebody else?
Yeah, you almost like hear it. And then if there's something that's problematic, sometimes you can almost anticipate it. Like, I don't know, it's strange.
I agree with that.
Yeah, what do you do if you feel very strongly about something and the director doesn't? How far do you take that fight?
I mean, if the director can, I think if he can articulate the reasons, like what it is, and I can articulate, and we're able to have, with Tommy it was very much like that. I mean, because one of the great things about working with him is that he doesn't use a temp score. You know, he's all about, it's an open slate, I want creativity and originality, which is all great and fine, but if, I know he has some sort of mindset about what the picture's about, and if the music's not going to fit into that, then there's a problem. But if he can articulate what it is and I can respond to it, then I'm happy to work on it. You know, if it becomes an impasse where you can't see what they're going after or whatever, then I mean, there's a certain point where you have to walk away, I guess.
How do you guys decide on the overall sound of the score? There was some interesting. There was a xylophone in Big Eyes, is that what I was hearing? Marimba, and an organ, right? And a strange piano of some kind outside in Homesman. How do you decide that you're going to go with this kind of instrumentation?
For me, the whole thing is trying to sort of distill the essence of the picture to the most simple element from which almost like an acorn of a tree, and then when it sprouts out, hopefully the music from the picture will all be derived from a similar area, something. So finding that element is key to me, maybe just as a idiosyncrasy for how I work, but it keeps me organized and focused on where I am and where I'm going and what I'm trying to do.
I don't think you guys actually get a whole lot of time to talk to each other, right? You guys don't really interact a whole lot.
We all live in the same street and we never see each other.
So, what's it like? Is it good to actually talk shop with one another like this?
I like hearing that there's insecurity out there. That's what I've gotten. I've done 3 of these, and it's been really helpful to me to know that others are as insecure as I am.
Last time we spoke about not sleeping, I remember we spent a lot of time talking
insomnia
about
seems to be a common
changed.
theme.
Yeah,
but the unsureness of how other people feel, I find very helpful, because I'm unsure of everything still, and to know that others are sometimes feel the same, I found very.
But don't you think that's part of the job? I mean, don't you think that is part of the journey? If you were sure, if the moment I feel sure, I know I'm just churning out stuff.
It's a complete balance between ego and, because you have to be confident in what you're doing in order to, otherwise you throw everything out, right? So having that, but also being insecure about it too, because without that insecurity, you're not going to push the boundaries to look further. So I think it's like riding a very fine line. I think, the fact that it's a solitary business too, I feel fortunate because I have Buck, we have a partner, you have someone that you work with. To have people around you is important, because it's, I don't know, especially out on the mountain where I am, you begin to, you could easily go crazy.
Yeah.
All right, I think we have time for one last question, and I'm curious, do you guys, when you're working all the time, when do you have time to actually listen to music for pleasure?
I think this comes back to your very first question, what's the hardest thing that we find? And that is, for me, it's managing time, between raising kids, I try to spend time with, and having a family, but also putting everything you need into the film. But even that, like breaking that up until, like, how much time can you spend experimenting? How much time do you have to, do you have to figure things out? And listening to music falls into that same category, because I feel like I'm deprived in a lot of areas, and whereas I used to sit around and listen to records and all that. It's so hard. I mean, the most is I'll, sit with the kids sometimes and listen with them, but to have time, I always feel like, I don't know, right now everything seems so hectic.